What's the most satisfying act of I don't give a fuck that you have ever witnessed? My cashier in Amsterdam was literally just taking my groceries and sliding them across but not scanning them and then putting them into my bag. She scanned the last thing for like €2 and goes, that'll be €2. She did not give even half of one fuck. Probably her last day of work. Worked a shitty fast food job when I was 15. Girl I worked with got fired. The manager was a real witch, says to her as she's escorting her out of the building that she needs to return her work shirt cleaned. Girl whipped it right off and threw it at her. Walked out to her car in her black bra and drove off. Damn, I wish I'd got her number. Me too. Someone's girlfriend was cussing them out in the middle of a mall. This dude called up his mate and asked to get a ride home and left her speechless. Don't know how that relationship ended up. You probably saw it. Hopefully. In college we had this prof for physics who liked to pick on a few students, basically me and a few others. We had an exam, and he would take off major points over trivial items. Cases where people were getting the correct answers but he didn't agree with our work. Shit like that. And we're talking getting 220 on a question, which pretty much fucks you over. After insulting us, the prof gets up and solves a problem on the board, and made a trivial mistake. The kind of one that nearly caused us all to fail his class. One of the guys gets up, writes F on the board, flicks him off and walks off. Truly the hero we need. Had a legendary young prof that was getting wind of people sharing information and basically considered it cheating. Went as far as to set a trap. Extremely difficult question and posted the answer on Chegg.com, which is a study help website where everyone pretty much got their answers at ease. Caught a lot of people, like most of the classes he was teaching, which was 3 I think. I wasn't in the class but got it all second hand. NXT day, walks up to the whiteboard and draws a pyramid with blank spaces, tells the class to fill in the spaces of who told the other people and walks out. Back when I worked at a movie theater, one of my fellow assistant managers, Jack, had the constant attitude of not giving a fuck. Had worked at the theater longer than anyone and was good friends with the general manager, so he got away with murder. One time this lady wanted a refund for a movie she'd finished watching. She was going crazy, screaming at us about how the movie was so inappropriate to be rated PG-13 and she couldn't stand all the swearing in the movie. I kept calmly trying to explain to her that since the movie was already over we couldn't give her a refund. Our policy clearly stated no refunds after 30 minutes into showtime. She's not hearing it, and looks to Jack now, like he will give her the answer she wants. He starts saying the same thing I did, and she interrupts him again with her yelling about how she couldn't stand all the swearing in the film. Jack rolls his eyes and just says, well, that's just too fucking bad, and walks off. Cue stunned look on my face and the ladies. People who want a refund after watching an entire movie are probably the same people who complain about their food at a restaurant even though they ate every bite. You, this hamburger tastes like crap, takes another bite. I mean, I could throw up any second now. Finishes burger and licks fingers. Nothing too crazy here. Some customer on the phone was laying on the entitled wanker attitude a little too heavily the other day, so I hit that end call button. No warnings, no drama, just not dealing with your bullshit. Soz. People who call someone asking for their help, only to give them attitude, really aren't very smart. Edit. Also, this story MT dad told me of his school days. He was chewing gum. Teacher asked him to spit it out. He refused, so the teacher casually walked over to my dad, picked him up and placed him into the bin. Guessing my dad was too shocked to fight him. Both your dad and his teacher gave zero fucks that day. I was in line at a coffee shop and the lady was complaining that they didn't have organic milk, and without a word or hesitation the guy behind the counter just said next please, not even taking her order. My hero. One of my high school teachers was just before retirement. I remember on the day of the final exam he handed out the test papers, then sat down at his desk and read the newspaper, with it open up all the way in front of him. He couldn't see us and vice versa. The smart girl in front finished first and just passed her paper back. It went all around the class. Not the first fuck was given by him on that day. In my history course in college, professor would give us like 10 questions a week before exam. Then on the exam head had 3 of those questions we had to answer in a short essay response. Everyone would just pick the 3 easiest questions from the 10, write it up and save it to their phones. Then when we had to do the exam just pull out our phones and copy it. We wouldn't even respond to the specific questions on the exam. Oh, and 10% of our grade was by attendance. He'd pass out a piece of paper and everyone write their name on it. It'd see 40 names on it, half with the same handwriting and pen, but only 15 kids in the class. That prof didn't give a fuck. Didn't see it, but it was talked about at my old restaurant. My autistic friend was getting an interview for a second restaurant job. The chef doing the interview asked this question and got this response. I could be the biggest asshole when things get heated. How do you feel about that? Well, if that's the case, then I don't want to work for you. Spoiler alert. Things are always heated and that chef is always an asshole. Little bit late but at Air Force basic training when you first show up you're either in civilian clothes or the uniform with sneakers, because they don't want to fuck up your feet I guess, and are affectionately called sneaker weakers. While that chow at the table behind you gets up, you need to get up and leave regardless if you're finished. If 2 tables behind you get up you'll be swarmed by MTIs and have them scream in your face until you do get up. I had just put my tray back and started to walk out when I look back and see one lone sneaker weaker by himself in a row of 5 or 6 tables, surrounded by 6 MTIs. Kid is staring straight ahead and just eating his food one spoonful at a time while the MTIs scream in his face. Finishes his food, sets his spoon down, picks up his drink and just slowly finishes his water, turns his glass over, puts it down, picks up his tray and walks up to put it away while still being screamed at by 6 MTIs. Kid is walking out and I realize everyone in the room is staring at him. He has no emotion, no fear, no smirk, nothing as he walks out of the chow hall. Sounds like that kid had some training at home before getting to basic. My ex-boss had a customer throw her money on the counter when my boss clearly had her hand already out waiting to be given the money, so when my boss went to give a change, she just threw it back. Coins went everywhere but the look on the lady's face was priceless. Whenever I deal with customers, I just reciprocate what they do. Hand me your money. I hand it back. Put your money on the table. I put it on the table as well. Same. When I worked in customer service this is what I would do mostly cause I hate people I don't know touching me without permission. And if someone doesn't want me touching them I won't do it. When I delivered pizza we had this older driver, prob in his 20s, who came back from a delivery and was pretty annoyed. A few minutes later the store got a phone call complaining about him. Essentially what happened was, a regular pie delivered was $11.97 and the person handed him $12 and asked for their change. He said okay, went back to his car and got 3 pennies and looked the woman in the eyes and rolled the pennies between her legs into her house and walked back to his car. This hurt as older as 20s now. Man, if that's the case I should start looking for walking canes. One casual employee decided to stop using proper radio procedure. Instead of using his correct call sign he replied on the radio with Super John Smith, not his real name. He kept doing it all night despite dispatchers, supervisors and company workers telling him to stop. He still works there and has outlasted hundreds of employees. I'd say his work-life balance is pretty good. I still call him Super John to this day. Super John Smith. This is John Smith actual. How copy. This girl at my school had just recently moved in but never really said much. She also had very short hair, and because of the area I live in a lot of people made fun of her for this. One day some guy went up to her, calling her a FG and a DKE. I guess she finally had enough of people teasing her and told him I had cancer. So fuck off. I was not expecting that. Was living and working from home on a super busy street. One day I hear a ruckus out front. There's an SUV stopped in the middle of the road. The occupants apparently having a fight. No traffic could get by. And wouldn't you know it, like 10 cars back there's a deputy's car. Deputy walks up, already pissed off by the shape of his stride. Now I couldn't hear anything up to this point, but things got very loud. He demanded to know what the issue was. Driver wanted the passenger out of the car. Deputy asks the passenger, whose car? Passenger begrudgingly says it's the driver's, but that they help pay for it. Deputy, out of the car. Passenger, but deputy, now, out. Passenger gets out. Goes to stand on the curb as directed. Deputy. To the driver. Drive. Passenger. But how am I supposed to get home? Deputy. Walk turns. Walks off into sunset. Seriously, that last walk was the coldest damn command I'd ever heard. The deputy was 100,000% done with everyone's shit that day. Was the sheriff Phil Anselmo?